The woman had already given birth to two daughters, but her husband dreamed day and night of having a son. To fulfill her husband's wish, Jenny became pregnant again. Soon, the day of delivery arrived. Jenny used every bit of her strength. The baby was delivered safely, but it was another girl. Jenny's face instantly showed deep disappointment. The nurse carefully handed the baby to her. Although Jenny regretted that it wasn't a boy, she still loved the baby very much. But just a few minutes later, Jenny's stomach started to hurt again. The nurse thought it was just afterbirth contractions, so she didn't pay much attention until Jenny let out a scream. Only then did she realize something was wrong and quickly checked Jenny. She discovered there was another baby inside. To avoid any accidents, the nurse immediately called the doctor. This baby was in a breech position. It was extremely dangerous. So the nurse had Jenny's lower body lifted. She told her to push with the contractions. At last, the baby was safely delivered. All hope of having a son was completely shattered. Jenny's emotions were very complicated. Her husband came to the hospital to see her. Although he didn't say anything, when he learned that other mothers had given birth to boys, his face turned dark and ugly. He had thought of many names for boys, but now not a single one could be used.
Why don't you just say it, Ramesh?
Say what?
That you wanted a boy.
I'm a father to many daughters. Can I not want just one son?
Hearing her husband's true feelings, Jenny was heartbroken. She also hated herself for not being able to bear a son. That day, one of the babies kept crying. The nurse hurried to check her. She found that the baby had diarrhea. The nurse quickly called the doctor. Both twins showed signs of infection. It was clearly gastroenteritis. The babies could suffer severe dehydration within hours, facing the risk of death. At 3 in the morning, the younger twins' condition worsened. Her lips turned blue and she stopped breathing. The nurse immediately began emergency measures. After resuscitation, the baby finally started breathing again. The doctor sent the baby to the pediatric hospital. Jenny worried about her babies every single day. Her husband never came to the hospital, and she had no one to confide in. Gradually, Jenny fell into depression. A pregnant woman came to the hospital for a checkup when a little girl suddenly grabbed her necklace and refused to let go. Jean didn't understand what the girl was doing. Thankfully, the girl's mother stepped in just in time, but Jean's expression angered the woman.
What you turn your nose up at?
Excuse me?
Jean turned her head away, unwilling to engage. A nearby pregnant woman kindly warned Jean that the girl's mother was known for being a troublemaker. Unexpectedly, the woman overheard the comment.
Stuck up bitch.
Jean was very well-mannered and didn't want to argue, so she left the hospital without getting examined. The next day, Jean had a terrible headache. Her husband rushed her to the hospital. On the way, he kept blaming her for coming home without seeing the doctor the day before. Suddenly, Jean began to have full-body seizures.
Margaret!
Her husband panicked and quickly pulled over to get help. After a medical examination, Jean was diagnosed with preeclampsia. Because the treatment was delayed, it was already too late. Jean could no longer be saved. The baby didn't survive either and died inside her womb. The news shattered her husband. In that moment, he lost everything. In many clinical cases, preeclampsia is like a death sentence. There's nothing to do but stay by the patient's side and wait. Her husband stayed with her 24 hours a day, hoping for a miracle. Jean was a well-known violinist. He was the principal of a middle school. They fell in love at first sight and were soulmates. Her husband couldn't imagine how to go on without her. Eventually, tragedy arrived. Jean had only one day left to live. A nurse gently suggested he remove his wedding ring, but he refused.
Some people need permission to die from those that they love the most.
The ring was a symbol of their love. Now it brought him unbearable pain. He stayed silent for a long time. Then he softly touched Jean's cheek and bent down to say his final goodbye. A woman gave birth to a baby, but her husband was too afraid to hold her. He even said the child was a demon and would kill their whole family. Jean had married a black man despite her parents' objections. As a result, she was kicked out of the house and now lived with her husband and mother-in-law. Ever since the baby was born, the man claimed to hear terrifying sounds every night.
It's the names. They will tell you what it is.
His strange behavior frightened his mother. The nurse suspected he had a mental illness. By the time the doctor arrived to examine him, the man hadn't slept in days. The doctor handed him a sleeping pill. The man pretended to swallow it, but as soon as the doctor left the room, he immediately spit it out. That night, the man stared at his sleeping daughter.
She don't need sleep. It's all part of her power. They told me.
No.
Jean was terrified. The next day, she invited a priest to come over. By then, the man was completely unhinged. His mother and Jean sat frozen on the couch, afraid to move. When the baby started crying, the man tried to strangle her. Jean stood up to take the baby, but the man shouted at her to sit back down. When he saw the priest pull out a Bible, he grabbed a vase from the table and threw it. The man screamed and raged inside the room. The priest quickly escorted Jean outside and told her to call the police.
She's a demon. Water could drown her.
When thou passest through waters, I will be with thee.
While the man was distracted, the priest picked up the baby and carried her outside. When he returned, the man grabbed a pair of scissors from the table and stabbed the priest in the chest. Then he began hurting himself. Fortunately, the scissors hadn't hit any vital organs, and the priest survived. A few minutes later, 2 police officers rushed in and immediately handcuffed the man and took him away. Late that night, the mother-in-law waited outside the police station, crying and begging the doctor to save her son. The doctor looked through the window. It was clear the man had completely lost his mind. The doctor scolded the police for being too rough with the psychiatric patient. The woman placed the baby outside the door to get some sun, but when her husband came home, he found the stroller empty. He immediately asked his wife where the baby was, and a sense of panic hit him. The couple rushed out in a frenzy to search, but no one had seen where the baby went. Jenny was filled with regret. Police quickly locked down the entire neighborhood. During questioning, some neighbors mentioned that Jenny's mental state had always been unstable.
She was overheard stating she wanted to hurt her baby.
The head nurse was furious. How could anyone spread such a lie? That night at the dock, a baby's bib was found lying in a corner. A concerned citizen brought it straight to Jenny's house. Police also arrived to question her. Jenny immediately recognized it as the baby's. Her husband was speechless, and Jenny lowered her head in despair. No one knew whether the baby was still safe or had already been taken elsewhere. The next morning, a woman slowly approached a milk truck. When the workers weren't looking, she grabbed a bottle of milk and ran. Just as she was about to be caught, the woman threw the milk back and quickly darted into an alley. She returned only to check on the baby, then prepared to go out again to find food.
Mommy has to go to work, my angel. Otherwise we'll starve, won't we?
She warmly tried to attract customers, but no one paid attention to her. Meanwhile, Jenny was on the verge of a breakdown after losing her child. She refused to eat or drink. Her body was extremely weak, and her mental state deteriorating. Every moment, she regretted what she had done. Police followed a lead from the milkman and arrived at an abandoned warehouse. Sure enough, inside they found a woman holding a baby. It turned out her own child had been taken by the government, and overwhelmed by longing, she made a terrible decision. The pregnant woman lied about feeling unwell to escape her abusive husband, insisting on being admitted to the hospital. She never expected her husband to track her down and show up at the hospital.
Where's my wife? Huh?
With a perverse grin, he approached Jenny and even acted inappropriately toward her in public. Thankfully, a doctor appeared in time and kicked him out. Jenny thought the hospital was a safe place, but tragedy was about to strike. Soon, the day of Jenny's delivery arrived. While the midwife stepped out to get some towels, the remaining doctor had just received his medical license. He had absolutely no experience in delivering babies. When he heard Jenny screaming in pain, he panicked. To resolve the situation quickly, the doctor administered anesthesia without Jenny's consent and began cutting. As a nurse pushed the door open and entered, Jenny immediately cried out for help.
Why has he cut me?
The doctor nervously explained that an episiotomy could save time and help the baby come out sooner. The midwife was so furious she nearly cursed out loud. She ordered the doctor to hold the incision and rushed to get another physician. But in fear of being mocked, the male doctor selfishly attempted to stitch the cut himself, despite Jenny's pain. Jenny nearly passed out from the agony. When the nurse entered again, the doctor quickly stepped aside. Seeing the sutured incision, the midwife didn't scold him. Delivering the baby was the priority now. Then the male doctor pulled out a pair of forceps. Jenny was too afraid to push due to the pain from the cut. With gentle encouragement from the nurse, she found the courage to try again. With one final scream of pain, the baby was finally born. But because of its small size, the newborn had to be placed in an incubator right away. The nurse was furious. Performing an episiotomy just to satisfy one's ego is an utterly irresponsible act.